Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. So you may on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Lyre. So we're picking up right back up where we left off with not Prince anymore, King Adrius. And let's go ahead and jump right in, shall we? Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go! Alright. As for war, what have we to fear of your martial might? You're incapable of disbanding barely armed peasants who would scatter like fleas if a real army descended upon them. My father offered what little assistance he could, but it sadly wasn't enough. It seems both parties were incapable of ridding the world of this pest. That? Adrius interrupts him once more, continuing with his rant. I think you'll find my forces far more up to the task of combat while under my guidance. We'll see what happens when 5,000 trained soldiers smoke out that rat's nest. Adrius lets out a small laugh which can barely be heard under his breath. There's an idea. Maybe I'll solve our little problem and clear the canyons myself. Kadaj's tail swishes side to side anxiously as he speaks up. Where are you going with all this? If you expect me to fight you on this subject, you're mistaken. Although I must strongly advise against causing tension between Driss and Lyre. Oh, don't worry. This is all purely hypothetical. I would never dream of doing such things without consulting my loyal Minister of War. He turns to Liz as he says this, her brow furrowed and face filled with concern, yet still managing to muster a weak smile. He returns his gaze back to Kadaj. I am merely calling out the weaknesses of your kingdom. You understand what I am saying, correct? The healing of the wounds left on this kingdom is inevitable, while Driss and Aaron continue to let their own wounds fester. It's as if they have much more important things to worry about. Adrius swings his leg to the side, reclining into his seat further. I can assure you, I will bring peace to this kingdom if it's the last thing I do. No. Kadaj gives a worried yet determined look, his eyes glinting in the light from outside. Do as you wish, your highness. But what is your verdict on my proposal? Adrius sits on the throne silently, thinking to himself. Letting the cat leave after the trial could serve to be useful. Depends on how things turn out in the end. Very well. You want to return home so badly. If all goes well with this trial, you may do so. Kadaj looks up, his ears rising. I have your word? Yes. Very well. The cat bows slightly. You're dismissed. We'll speak of this later if all goes according to plan. Kadaj gives another bow in both Elizabeth's and Adrius' direction. Minister, your majesty, I wait the next chance we can speak on this matter. His tone of voice is very curt, and Adrius can tell he's angry, yet satisfied with that he got his good outcome. He walks toward the exit, his tail curved between his legs. His guards quickly follow behind him. Once again, the room is occupied only by Adrius. Adrius lives in the royal guards, with Leaf being the only one missing. Adrius sits unmoving on his throne, his chin resting on one hand as the other grips the arm of the throne. The guards stand at attention as the footsteps retreat into the distance, their bounding echoes dying out until the only sound is the scream of silence. It rebounds up and down the hall until even the hardened guards must shift in their armor, if just to dispel the lack of noise. The king, however, stays as still as a marionette cut free of its strings. The bandits are such an obstacle for the foolish and fearless, are they not, Liz? I suppose. Adrius looks down upon his guards. Sir Tygren, would you be so kind as to find one of the servants? Tell them to retrieve the headsman. They need to visit with the accused like they usually do. Give them solace and renew their faith, saving them from their sins. Or maybe not. Religion was never my expertise. Have it done either way. Sir Tygren bows and strides out of the hall, their cape fluttering behind them. Adrius watches on with a dry look upon his face. Liz sits next to the throne, straight-faced and stoic, like a statue, yet her eyes tell a different story. Adrius can't be bothered, however. The two of you in the front can stay. The rest of you are dismissed. The guards turn on their heels and walk out of the grand room, their armor clattering as they trail off. Only two of them stay standing in place, still as statues. Liz rises from her seat and leaves through one of the doors behind the throne. It slams behind her with a loud thud. The room is drowned in silence once more. Adrius closes his eyes and reclines in the throne. His chest feels heavy, but his mind is focused. Too focused to rest. It feels as if he's running without moving his body at all. Then it stops. Suddenly, he's one with himself again. Or had he only left his true self behind? Please don't let that be it. Oh, no it isn't it. Part 3, Luvun. Oh my, we get a little bit more. Okay, cool. The dull, colorless winter light shining through the cell window hits my face, granting me the slightest feeling of life. I watch the rays of sunlight gently change direction as the sun slowly moves across the afternoon sky. Each ray bounces off the small puddles of water which lay about the floor. Steam rises off of them in thin clouds as the humidity of the cell clashes with the cold air drafting through the barred hole. Slow and natural movements like this only emphasize just how slow each day passes. It feels like I've been in here for much longer than I actually have. The hours have slowly started to turn into days, and if I hadn't focused on it, I would have lost track of time. Of course, it's only been a fortnight, but the constant thought of what's to come and everything else that's happened has been draining me mentally. Not to mention my physical appearance. I've had to remove most of my clothes at this point. It was bound to happen eventually. The constant fluctuation in temperature as day and night pass has done a number on my body, along with the humid air rising deep from under the ground. At first, just wearing the coat and shoes was uncomfortable, but after a while, the cold, damp shirt started to send chills all over my body. Taking it off left me vulnerable to all the filth, but at least now my body isn't at a constant battle with itself and the environment around it. All that's left on me is the pair of black breeches from that fateful night. And undergarments, too, of course. Lack of clothing is nothing compared to the appearance of my body. Tying back my hair was something I had to abandon a week ago. It messily falls down past my shoulders, unkempt, damp, and far from clean. Having it down like this makes it easier to dry out in what little sunlight I get. My face feels oily, every last part of it covered in dust, dirt, and sweat. I won't lie and say that my teeth were perfect before arriving in this circumstance, but as clean as I've tried to keep them, they just still feel awful. I also lack the tools to deal with my facial hair. It always grew fast, which was nice, but I've been told in the past I look like I look good with a bit of stubble. Now I just wish this itchy mess was gone. I would try shaving it all off with that mirror shard hidden in the cell, but I'd either end up maiming my chin and upper lip or slitting my throat. I try to imagine the look on Adrius' face as he and his guards walk down here to find me sprawled out on the floor in a puddle of my own blood. It's really hard to imagine just how he would react. Then I think of what Lyre would do. I shake the thought out of my mind, not wanting to dwell on such a tragic scenario. Along with all of this, as much as I would feel it, I should be tired. I'm constantly wide awake. I can only sleep for a couple of hours before waking up again, my body refusing to go back to sleep. I'd be ashamed of myself for not handling this better, but it's a dungeon. It's not supposed to be pleasant the slightest. Anybody would be worse off in this situation. Right now, the only thing I can look forward to is food and water. For the past couple of weeks, the second I hear a guard's footsteps making their way up the tunnel, my stomach ties itself in a knot out of hunger. The food is bland, stale, and sickening at first, but over time it's gotten better. I guess anything tastes good when you're hungry. Each tray is a small bowl of gruel with a couple of vegetables on the side, along with a thin piece of bread. I try to eat the tiny amount of vegetables first. I usually dislike vegetables, so eating them when my hunger is strongest helps. Tygren told me this is good, because if I eat the vegetables first, it should aid with the digestion of the rest. Sometimes there's even a dried piece of meat. Anytime there is, I like to savor it throughout the day. Even after all that, it pales in comparison to the cup of water I get. It rests in my hand, only a small amount of it is left. I sit there, cross-legged on the ground, staring at the window as I cradle the cup between my fingers. I trust you'll be done with your break soon. Their voice wakes me from my thoughts and I stand from the dirty ground. Yeah. Meet me in the mind's eye when you're finished. I take what's left in the cup and bring it to my mouth, tipping the contents back. Feeling the clean water wash over my tongue and down my throat feels like heaven. I never appreciated water this much until now. I had managed to make it last all throughout the night and the rest of the morning. Standing up, I swipe the straw and dirt from my rear and go sit on a slab of stone which I've come to call my bed. Before I'm about to go in, I can hear a little conversation coming from the tunnel. Speaking with Tygren in the mind's eye feels like the best option now. No interruptions. It takes no time at all to calm my mind as I drift into the mind's eye. It's as colorful as ever. Are you going to continue your training today? They jump into sight with a startling flash, but I'm not bothered by it as much as I would have been a week ago. There's nothing else to do. I say this in a dry tone which elicits a sigh from them. I've already counted all the bricks on the walls. Do you remember how many there were? 1,183. And there's 474 that are made of stone. I usually enjoy counting, but not like this. Training is driving me crazy, and anything I do to take a break from it also drives me crazy. I'm in a constant battle with myself while you pull my strings like a puppet. They roll their eyes at me and cross their arms, an annoyed expression appearing across their face with every word from my mouth. It only makes me more irritated. The puppet controlling the puppet is not to blame. What's that supposed to mean? Let out a sigh and disregard my question, asking one of me instead. You don't want to train, do you? I take a deep breath and try to calm myself down as I prepare a reply. I want to, but with each vision that yields so useful information, I grow more and more reluctant. I don't want to feel this way, but it can't be helped. Your life could depend on it. If my life is so precious to you, then tell me who killed Raynor. Or tell the king yourself. I'm sure he'd love to hear it from you. There's a long and drawn-out silence from them. It was a joke. Please don't lecture me again. Ha! They released out a sardonic laugh. I'm being serious, though. I've been training without a single break for the past few days, and I feel as if I'm going insane. Never mind, I am going insane. 2 weeks of being in a dungeon is bad enough, but dragging my mind through endless strain and meaningless visions all in the pursuit of a single past memory is difficult. It's maddening. And what if it doesn't even matter in the end? You'll never know unless you learn what really happened. No, that's not what I mean. Even if I do find out who killed him, it will only give me a slight edge in an already botched trial. Not to mention the impossible situation I've been thrown into. I could toss out as much proof as I wanted at Adrius, and he could still kick me through the streets and throw rocks at me. And then kill me. Have you really given up that easily? I sigh and shake my head slowly. No. I'm just choosing to see things realistically. I'm not going to give up, because I know that if I did, I would never hear the end of it from you. I can't help it let out a soft chuckle, accompanied by a concerned face. You're right. Another reason is that it's your only chance. Quiet noises around me suddenly become thick and heavy as those words settle in. I've assumed it to be the only outcome so far, but you think I could escape a death sentence even if found guilty? It's possible. Not likely, though. People have been put to death for less than killing a king. Thanks, Tygren. What? I'm only seeing things realistically. Again, very funny. I should probably go back. There's a short pause as the colorful mist lightly glide past our figures. They speak up, their voice filled with levity. You really should continue your training, though. I can sense that you're getting better with each time you delve into the past. Their words of encouragement are nice, but I can't help but feel their words don't ring true. The closer these visions get to the present, the harder it is to have them. It's like time is a road and a tree has fallen in the path. I hope you're right. I'd prefer to not have to do any last-minute investigating during the trial. They laugh to himself, still wearing a face full of concern and guilt. That would be preferable. I give them a slight wave before taking my leave. They awkwardly raise a paw and see the slightest hint of a smile. Seeing this makes me think for a moment that there could be hope, as much as I doubt it. Ooh. Alright then. It's a nice thought, but one that brings me less joy with each hour that passes and every day that comes and goes. I pull myself out of the cavern, slowly bringing myself back in touch with my body. When I'm back, everything was the way it was before. The sun is still slowly sinking into the sky, and I can hear chatter coming up from the tunnel. I get up and walk over to the wall across from me and sit down, positioning myself in the sunlight. Once I'm comfortable, I prepare to dive into another vision as I've done before. As I sit there trying to concentrate, the noise stops and I hear footsteps coming in my direction. They sound like hooves. It's most likely Adrius coming back to aggravate me some more. I sit there with my eyes fixed on the wall in front of me, ready for him to round the corner wearing this classic face of disgust. The footsteps get heavier though, and I wonder if it really is Adrius. They're slow and the thud on the ground, like someone banging rocks against the floor. The person steps in front of the barred-off doorway, and I quickly realize that it's definitely not the deer. Oh! Before me stands a large horse in a thick black cloak. His face is masked, and I can only see his large brown eyes as they peer at me from behind the hood. I've only ever seen horsemen outside the village, but seeing one this close indoors allows me to realize just how big they are. He's taller than Lyre and possibly even larger than Bjorn. He has his fist firmly placed on his hip, but it's not how one would usually picture it. Unlike when Lyre could confidently place his paw on his hip, it almost looks like he's supporting himself, like he had a hurt back and was applying pressure. His robes are ragged and loose, falling down around his broad shoulders and coming to an end at his waist. A golden medallion is placed around his thick neck and shines with the symbol of the Tygren. It's a symbol I'm now far too familiar with. The decoration looks old and bent. My eyes pan down and notice the object in his hands. An axe larger than any I've ever seen. The handle is made of a long, gnarled piece of wood and the blade is crescent-shaped. It gleams in the dim light and looks sharp enough to cut bone. The axe of an executioner. My heart drops into my stomach and my body begins shaking all over. I back myself up against the wall a bit more and I get the taste at the back of my throat that I usually get when nervous. Why would he be down here? I don't think I would be seeing him anytime soon. If I did, it would mean a lot. It would mean the worst for me. Is this some sort of sick joke by Adrius? You're the executioner? He looks upon me again, his golden eyes old and sad. It takes a moment to respond, but when he does, his voice is soft and gentle. It reminds me of Lyle's voice, but it's almost like a tone that a father would use to console their child. Yes, I could be called that. Please, don't be frightened of me. His voice travels through the space between the bars almost like a mist on the wind. For some reason, it's putting me at ease despite the current situation. Still, my curiosity proves stronger. What are you doing down here? Visiting. He reaches behind his back under his cloak and pulls out a thick, rusty ring full of keys. Each key is almost identical, with certain markings on them. He starts to quickly go through them. Visiting? What do you mean? Why would you want to visit me? He pauses for a moment, holding the key closer to his gaze and then continuing. It's not a matter of wanting to. It's expected of me. Expected? Do executioners do this? Unless he has a second job of being a turnkey, it doesn't make much sense. Though... Alright, y'all. I think I'm going to pause it right here. I'm so out of it right now. Oh, this is interesting. Y'all in the comments, let me know if there's any more after this. Anyway. Alright, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks for a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.